So the fact that we'll make money on it, like, what a gift. It's my life's work. And I think I have a rub sometimes in just the RAL world. It's a great investment. It is, like, hands down. But I hope people understand there's real humans that live in these homes.
Welcome to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex Schlow. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living.
Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show.
Welcome back to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast, the podcast that brings you expert insights from leaders in assisted living. I'm your host, Charlie Cameron, and today we're thrilled to have Heather Holmes and Colin Roberts, founders of The Vibe Residential Assisted Living in Nebraska. Welcome, Heather and Colin.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Really excited to have you guys. Really glad we got to meet at the conference in Phoenix just like a week and a half ago. That was awesome because you just signed up for the podcast this morning and found me, and it was a cool coincidental occurrence all at once. So that's awesome. Glad we got to actually meet in person, but now we get to really dive in. We didn't get to spend a lot of time chatting. So here's where we get to really learn more about The Vibe and why your home is so different. And I think that it's going to be changing the model that a lot of assisted living operators are going to be striving toward. We're going to get into your whole journey and your lessons learned along the way, but tell us about how you got into the world of residential assisted living. How did that even come up on your radar to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Colin and I both have different entrances, but I'll share mine here a little bit first. So the world of senior living has always been really close to my heart. I volunteered when I was 17 at a nursing home here in Omaha and met a woman named Alice, and I would paint her nails and just fell in love with her because as an anxious 17-year-old, I thought the world was ending, and she was in her 80s, and she would say, you're going to have a few husbands, you'll have some kids, don't stress out. And I just loved our conversations with her so much that even after my civics hours were done in high school, I visited her in college. And then I got my undergrad in recreational therapy and did my internship at the same nursing home, and she was still there. And then I actually took a job at that same nursing home after I graduated. And so this one older woman saw me from 17 to 23 pregnant with my first kiddo. And so it was like this deep relationship. And I've always felt really divine, feminine, crone goddess energy guiding me in senior living. And that took me on a 20 plus year career in rec therapy, being an assisted living administrator, teaching at the university level in gerontology. And so really senior living has been my heart. And then I have a side that's very holistic. And so for me, a little bit over a year and a half ago, Colin and I were talking about what do we want to do when we grow up? What kids are raised, now it's our turn. And I was like, I've always wanted to open a boutique home for memory care for older adults where I can do it totally different and take all the experience that I've had over the last 20 years and change it, do a complete paradigm shift. And he was like, let's go, let's do it. So this is really, I'm creating my own heaven on earth. I really feel divinely guided and that it's something that needs to come through me for the world. But working with older adults is where I'm most comfortable. It's when I'm happiest. And so it's a really good fit for me.
Love that.
Yeah, and as far as for me, my personal story is that my mother is actually in a nursing home. My father passed away in 2021, and my mom had suffered a stroke and was in a wheelchair, and we needed to find a place for her. And we actually ended up getting her into the nursing home in the small town that we all grew up in. And the really telling part of that for my mom and for myself was watching the people that mom used to work with, because that's the town we grew up in, taking care of her because my mom was a nurse, and seeing that hometown small, everybody knows everybody feel is really my why and what I would like to make sure that the Vibe instills in all of the guests that visit and stay with us at the Vibe. And it's really funny when Heather was talking about what that story about what we wanted to be when we grew up. I was in the process of flipping a house at the time, And we had strongly considered potentially looking at that house being our first RAL. And it just, for all of the reasons why you don't do that, it didn't work out. But that's how I dipped my toe into the RAL world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Everybody has a story. Usually it's family related, like you, Colin, but Heather, yours is very unique. Having met a woman that just became like a grandmother to you, which is awesome, and stayed with you along that journey. So cool. So that's how you got into assisted living. How did you then end up acquiring your first home, and what did that look like?
Yeah, so that's been a process and a journey, as I'm sure a lot of listeners can identify with or will soon find out on their own journeys. But initially we thought, oh, we'll find a home and just renovate it. That was the initial plan. Went through like financing a remodel, just trying to do it on our own and the hiccups and trying to figure all of that out. And for a lot of reasons, buying an established one and flipping just wasn't going to work for us. And Colin, you can probably jump in here more and talk a little bit more about like the project management construction side of things. But what we ultimately decided was we wanted to build. And so then that took us on the process of looking for land. And so we've had our heart broken 3 or 4 times where we were right up to the finish line, or we actually had investors in the past that were 100%, but they just didn't align with our goal and our mission. And we'll get into it, how different the vibe's going to be. And so those relationships and making sure that alignment's there is huge. And so a lot of heartbreak over the last year and a half, but now we're finally at that line where things are escalating. Colin, what do you want to say about that journey up to where we got to today?
Yeah, I think we did a lot of school of hard knocks in some respects, just getting, like Heather had said, our heart broken, but it at the same time made us understand how much more important it is to try to build it from the ground up, because we've got a really purpose-built mission. And I think that was just the universe trying to say, hey guys, let's deviate away from renovating and let's build something that's special. And that's really how we got to where we are right now.
A big mantra for us too is, what's meant for you won't pass you by. And so big believer now, when we got told no, thank you for the blessing, because it's guiding us to the direction we need to be.
That's 100% right. And a lot of entrepreneurs, early entrepreneurs, don't understand this part, but you have to fail your way to success. You don't know what you don't know yet, and you are going to fail along the way, and you only lose when you quit. Right? If you continue to go, you win.
Yeah.
That's the answer. It's wow. I didn't realize that initially. I started as an entrepreneur of real estate investing and as a real estate agent and failed a lot. But then you start to succeed and it starts to go great. And so I think you have to figure out what you're really meant for, and that you don't know until you've tried a lot of things.
And that mindset, it's like I was limiting myself by like just what was between my 2 ears. And I was like, if I can turn this off and get back into my heart, right? Like my brain can run an RAL all day. I know how to operate. I know how to build like all day. But if I didn't drop into my heart, it wouldn't have taken us this far, because it's just too much. You got to expand and feel the breadth of entrepreneurship and jumping in. And if it's your dream, you keep going.
Yeah. No, I love that. Something we found a lot with members of the RAL room is that they'll come in and they'll have, well, I'm going to buy existing, or I'm going to renovate a house. And I would say that more than half end up developing for their first one. And I think it comes down to 2 things: what's available in their area, but also the way they want to do it, which sounds like your big why. So talk to me about where you are in the development process.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have land picked out and secured. And then we have our architect drawings, the first blush done, that we submitted to our city, the city of Omaha. So waiting for them to come back and say, this looks amazing, go ahead and build it, maybe with a few caveats. But then we'll really dig into each section of the building. One thing that was important for us is the vibe is nature inspired. So the whole idea behind this is we are nature. We're part of the environment. We're part of Mother Earth. And so we wanted to build based on biophilic design. I don't know if you or any of the listeners are familiar with that, but you really build a space based on nature. So it's your subconscious, where you build it where natural birdsong will come through the windows, where the sun rises and sets, the elements that you use to build it, and the earth elements inside and the plants. And I think that's going to be just a key component to memory care, because while they might be in a disease process in that journey, subconsciously our bodies know if we're safe based on the sounds, the sights, and the colors and the light in nature. And so foundationally, we needed to build because that was such a strong desire of ours.
Yeah, and it also ended up being a little bit more cost prohibitive to renovate. When you start looking at bed sizes, at least in the Omaha area, many of the homes, it's really challenging to find a home that has space for 12 to 16 beds. And when you do, you start then looking at $1 million homes, but you also have million and a half dollar renovations. And at that price point, you're better off just building from the ground up, especially when we've got such a purpose-built driven mission.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. It's something we've probably talked about really quickly, is that, hey, if you're going to renovate a home and you start transforming it into an assisted living home, you have to keep in mind that not everything you do is dollar for dollar value for the appraisal. And the reason that is because the Joe home buyer doesn't necessarily want home sprinklers. They don't want 12 bedrooms, right? And a whole bunch of baths. An appraiser is going to come in there and they're going to look at it from a residential standpoint. Unless you bring a commercial appraiser, usually that only works out if you also have the business going. But if we talk about BRRRR, RAL, like you do the buy, rehab, refinance, repeat into an assisted living, it works, but don't expect to get $1 for $1 value back out like you typically would in a regular BRRRR. So just want to put that out there for the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's critical. And I think, again, that goes back to making sure that you know your demographics and know what your demographics need to be in order to be successful. And that there's a couple of folks here in town who are also building, and they happen to be going more the commercial route. So I don't know if that's a path of less resistance. It doesn't have to be the way that we are going about it, because we can get the large group living special use permit, given the zoning that we're going. But there is alternative ways around it from a build standpoint in this area anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point, Colin. It really is state and locality dependent what you can or can't do. In Virginia here, they have a specific R zoning for up to 8-bedroom assisted living, but anything above that is going to be commercial. But gives you more flexibility to be able to do more on that commercial side. It's going to cost more to build, and the land's going to be more expensive. So it's a give and take, of course. And usually that commercial side is a little bit heftier, maybe on lending terms or other parts and pieces. But on the lending piece, what is your plan for the loan itself?
Yeah, so we're in the process right now of, as it relates to the building, we actually are lucky enough to where we've got investors that are willing to take on the debt to build the property. That's where their expertise lies, and that's where their comfortability lies. We are going to come into the first one as operators, and so we're looking at taking out a 7A, SBA 7A for operating capital. We're trying to get some pre-opening capital in there, and then some reimbursements from some of the investments that we've already spent along with FF&E. So we're trying to do all of that, and that's going to be aligned and or coordinated with release schedules based on when the construction loan. So it's going to be coordinated, so we're not taking this full chunk of money out and then just like having nothing to do with it right at the very beginning.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's a different way to go about it. Normally we hear folks getting a big loan for the construction piece and then perhaps 7A at the other end, but you're using investors for the construction. Is it a investor loan product, or is it just truly you have investors you're going to that are going to lend on that piece, and then you're going to add?
Yeah, we actually have 2 investors that are willing to build the property themselves and own it. So if you think about it more in like a commercial type setting, if we were opening up a coffee shop, they have leased residential space or office space. We're essentially leasing a residential space from that will be purpose built by our design needs and by the needs of what the business will supply, but they're going to own the debt and we will repay them via a lease agreement.
Okay, this is truly interesting because when we got started in assisted living, what we did was kind of that, but we would buy existing homes and lease them out to operators when we're not involved in the operations for those 5 homes. We just lease them out. And so I think it's a really cool way for people to get started, especially if they don't have all the capital. Maybe you're in the position, maybe you're not, where you could get the loan for everything. But who cares, right? You still get to open the exact home of your dreams and don't have to worry about running the real estate part of it. You could just focus on operating the business, which sounds like what the piece that's more important to you. And you don't have to raise all that money for the real estate piece, but you're getting it built to spec, which is really interesting because I don't know if I've seen this yet, where it's kind of lease to operator from the ground up, which is absolutely amazing. I love that. How did you, for the listeners out there, how did you come across these investors that wanted to partner with you on this?
Yeah, thank you. No, we're so fortunate and blessed to have partners that see the vision and the mission, and somebody that's really invested in the relationship, and they don't want to just do one, right? Like, we have bigger ideas. And this isn't, I want to be invested with you guys for this property. It's, let's have this relationship for 25 or 30 years. It was a previous relationship I had established. I've been in the industry 20 some years now. And so I had this woman approach me. We had said no to 2 or 3 different investors just because of that alignment. It didn't feel right. That's why I just want to tell everyone, it doesn't feel right, don't do it. And they said, we'd love to hear more about it. And I said, let's have them over to our house, Colin. And so we grilled out chicken and just had that conversation and had follow-up meetings. But what I'll say, Charlie, is while it's great that the money is there and we're getting it built to spec, what we're also getting is mentors. They're about 10 years older than us. So they have experience and wisdom that even elevates us more. That's one thing I'm really leaning into, is they see this vision and they see Colin and I's heart and how much we want this, but they also are investing in us as people, which is, can't put a dollar price on that. So yeah, it's home run. I hope everyone put it out there, ask for what you want.
Yes.
The universe will give it to you.
Yeah. And so people think that money raising is this crazy, wild thing when really there's this pseudo money raising, right? You found partners, which is key to all of this, because at some point you run out of money at one point or another, right? So finding a partner, whether that's investor partners, whether that's LP style investor partners, or maybe that's the right bank to fund it. Those are all partners in the deal. The interesting thing about investing is that it is more based on the gut feeling and the relationship than the true financial robot analyzed, right? What is my return? No, people want to know that you're a real human, that you're legitimate, that you're doing something really cool, and they're going to get paid to go on this journey with you.
Yeah, it's the know and trust, right? I've got to know you, I've got to like you, I've got to trust you. And you can't do that just through email. You got to get to know the folks, you got to sit down with them, and there's true alignment with our partners, which is wonderful.
And plus, money's energy, so it's reciprocal. It's like any energy in our culture. We put this so much power and stress and worry around it. And if we could surrender a little bit and open up to that abundance and say, you know what, it's energy. So how am I cultivating my own energy around money, and then put that out so those same people on that same vibration can find you.
On the same vibe.
That's right, the vibe. I didn't even do that on purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Have you read The Go-Giver?
No, I should.
Okay, Heather, that's your very next read. Trust me on this. It's very short. It should be mandatory reading for all human beings, but there's these kind of rules for success, and they're very based on the more value you give, the more you shall receive. Those kind of things. Like, worry less about the money. Go out there and deliver the value, and the money will come. It will flow.
That's right. I said this is what I would do for no money. I want to create this sacred home and take care of older adults in a way that currently isn't available. And I would do it for free every day. So the fact that we'll make money on it, like, what a gift. It's my life's work. And I think I have a rub sometimes in just the RAL world where it's a great investment. It is, like, hands down, but I hope people understand there's real humans that live in these homes. There's real spirits and caregivers and families that are struggling with end of life in a culture that doesn't talk about death. And so that's something I hope to bring to this conversation that always isn't brought up either.
I love to hear that. Yeah, it's truly about how much impact you can make. The more seniors' lives and families and staff you can impact, the better off your business is going to be. That's naturally how it works. Colin, did you have something?
I was just going to say earlier, that's why I'm here, because Heather wants to do this for free. So
No, it really is. We have our investors, but Colin is the best partner for me because I am heart and I'm feeling and I'm that, like, feminine energy. Like, he's head of household, I'm heart of household. And so he keeps that in mind. You need the business acumen. I can do it. I've been in the industry. I've been an operator in multiple big boxes. So I can do all the business side, but it's not what I love and thrive. And it's not that creative piece. And so Colin's just perfect to bring in that CFO mindset.
Hear that, Colin? Perfect. Better get it in writing, buddy. Yeah.
I always say
This is being recorded, so we're good.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
I always say he's perfect for me. People are like, you have the most amazing partner. And I was like, no, I really do. He's perfect for me. I hope everyone finds their perfect person. He's not a perfect human, but he's good for me.
Yeah, none of us are perfect, I don't think.
At all.
No, far from it. Okay, so on the emotions and heart piece, talk to me about the vibe. What makes the vibe different? What are some of the things you're going to implement here that you just don't really encounter across the assisted living world?
Yeah. So my big, bold statement is if you're not comfortable with death, don't move in. You have to be a DNR to move into the vibe. So you have to be a do not resuscitate. We're going to talk about your death plan, and it's part of everyday life. And so even from like families and the guest that's moving in and our team members, we're doing tons of education and support. But if you're not comfortable talking about the end of your life, the vibe just won't work for you, because the biggest piece of nature is cyclical. Like we're in death in Omaha right now with snow. There's no leaves on, the ground's frozen. We're all hibernating, we're nurturing, we're in the womb, we're in the dark season. And we all have that dark season of life too. And so why it's so fun to talk about spring and everything blooming, and that still happens. And then summer, where you have the energy and the harvest, and fall, all the great food comes around. But if you want to discount or not even approach that there's a whole season of life that's death, then that's just not going to work. So that's probably one of the biggest pieces, but also just how sacred this space is. So there's no grand openings. If people want a tour, they can set up an appointment. I'll walk them through it. We don't allow shoes in the house. They'll have house shoes. Our big hallmarks are really meditation. We're building in a meditation room. There will be a chapel. There'll be a sacred space. We will talk about God, religion, the universe, whatever that deep faith is for you, it's forefront in this home. And it can be any tradition, any religion, whatever you find sacred. For us, it's definitely nature. But that meditation piece, and then music is huge. Just from all of my work with individuals with dementia and memory, Colin's a full-time musician and producer, so we got that in our back pocket. But beyond that, music's just going to be part of the home, and it's going to be that second, third language for our individuals. And then movement, making sure we're moving, we're doing stretching. We actually have a spa space where we have an Ayurvedic practitioner that's going to rent out that space. Ayurvedic medicine is based in India, so it's Eastern medicine. And so our home, we have to follow regulations, and we will, state of Nebraska, I promise. But medicine isn't first for us. And so we want people that say, hey, here's my medication list, and look at it herbally. Can we discontinue some stuff? Can we do a tea? Can we do a tincture? Can we do a balm? Can we do something that's not a pharmaceutical in place of that? We were fortunate enough to work with a local tea shop here called Craft Tea and curate our own herbal tea blend for guests and residents. So that'll always be a hallmark. We'll have full teas. I can blend up. If you're having throat issues or your stomach or something, I'll make you a tea. Don't even take any of the syrupy gunk and put it in your body. So I could talk about it all day, but that's the big things. Colin, what are you thinking?
I think the last thing that I would mention is food is medicine. And so we're going to start with the foods that the guests will be eating will be farm fresh foods. We will have a chef on site that will be preparing the foods in a chef prepared kitchen. We've got a serving kitchen that's separate from that's in the dining area. So the food is definitely going to be a central point of making sure that these guests are healthy.
I'm glad you said that. And I've seen this on a couple of episodes now, and it's starting to trend more and more the right way. Like, movement is medicine. What you consume is consuming not bad stuff is medicine, right? Consuming whole foods, good things that are actually good for you is medicine. None of that processed crap. Nature, getting outdoors, getting sunlight, hearing those sounds, seeing those plants, seeing animals, that's medicine. Like, we're supposed to go outside every single day. I'm here in my cave, right, working from home. You're supposed to get sunlight every single day. Otherwise, it's not healthy for you. But
Nothing grows without the sun, Charlie. In hospitals, before a huge influx of capitalism and money, hospitals had rooftops where you went up and got sun, and that's how you healed. I also like to say 80-20 because I'm still here to have like treats and fun and enjoy. So I just want everyone to know we're not sticklers on no fun, but feeling healthy and aging well and being preventative where you can and creating a softer space for people with food and movement is definitely important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it would be shocking if your residents didn't live significantly longer by doing those things.
Sorry to interrupt this episode, but let's be honest. Most real estate investing right now, it's either buy a fourplex or try Airbnb and hope for the best.
Yeah, we're not here for that.
We're here to show you what we believe is the most overlooked high cash flow real estate strategy in the game right now. You guessed it, residential assisted living. It's literally the one place in real estate where you can net 6 figures on a single home and feel like a decent human being at the same time. You're helping sweet old ladies eat pancakes and play bingo and live longer through better care. You tell me what's better than that.
So we're hosting a free live webinar called How You Can Create Financial Freedom with Residential Assisted Living. No fluff, just value. And it's happening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 Mountain Time. No excuses. It's online. Put on sweatpants. We won't judge.
We'll break down why residential assisted living is the best opportunity right now, the 5 steps to take down your first home, and how to set up a business that makes a real impact and real money.
Spots are limited, so don't be that person who DMs us in 3 months saying, wait, is it too late to start?
So hit up theralroom.com/webinar and register now.
Be the hero your grandma already thinks that you are.
We'll see you there. Pancakes not included.
By having whole foods.
Colin, you want to talk about your metrics project a little bit?
Ooh, yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, part of doing this is I want to prove that what we're doing is helpful because it's so what I want to really work to do, and I haven't crafted them yet, but I envision a statistical and not calculation that I can say based on Colin's consumption of this and this and these activities, and I don't know if it's Colin's expected life expectancy or what it might be, but I want to be able to prove that food is medicine. I want to be able to prove that getting out and doing movement on a regular basis increases their life expectancy. I want to prove that music and music therapy is something that really helps their cognition if that's something that they're needing. So I want to prove those things, and if the only way you can do that is by measuring it. And I want to be able to show that we have at least some help that is in place outside of just a place for mom and dad to be living, if that makes sense.
It truly does. And I forgot to mention, yes, music is medicine too. Why do you think every baby knows how to dance from the get-go? It's wild, right?
We have a heartbeat inside of us, and the womb isn't quiet. When people are like, oh, turn off the vacuum, the baby's asleep. I'm like, do you know what it sounds like inside a woman's body? It's not quiet.
I'd play Star Wars music to my daughter when she was in the womb. And of course, she's a big Star Wars fan now. So I like to think that all paid off.
There you go.
I do. I want to touch on this again because I think it's truly interesting. I've never heard it before, the whole DNR thing. And I just want to give you just a related story. I was a firefighter EMT in college and in my first assignment in the Air Force. So for 7 years, I did that kind of response stuff. And all the CPR I gave was on elderly in really terrible situations, usually in gross assisted living facilities.
Yep.
And let me tell you, that is gruesome. And they're really not going to recover from that in most cases. And so it's not something that I would be a big fan of. And so I like to hear it. I know that some people may disagree, but I think that if you're going into assisted living home, I think at that point in your life, that should be something that everybody's thinking is, that's probably the right situation, because not getting oxygen for quite a while at that age and having all of your ribs broken, and it's a really much harder recovery, and you probably end up passing away anyway from the oxygen loss and the trauma.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Charlie, because that's where that methodology comes from. Yeah, we are nature, we're dying. But being in the industry, I have seen so many times where it is an older person, they code, you're giving them CPR, and then the caregiver who loves that person breaks their ribs and they suffocate and die anyway. And then what does that do to me as the nurse, right? Put yourself in that caregiver's position. Like, you just caused injury and harm when that's the opposite of what you want to do. So it is going to be that educational piece up front with families. And I know people have religious reasons and stuff. And I'm so fine with saying, then the vibe isn't for you. Like, the people who want to live there will live there. And that's why it is sacred. And that's why it is going to be such an intentional community, because it's not for everybody. And America does senior living pretty okay. Omaha does it. I don't know everyone. That's why I said okay. I think we could change it 100%. But there's really good options in Omaha too that maybe won't have the level of intentionality that the vibe does. And so if that feels better for families or that resident, like, I'm happy to collaborate and refer to other RALs as well. But I just want to give people options because it's currently not out there. I'm seeing the way we're trying to operate and open the vibe.
I like it. And I like that you have a set of principles and you want to follow them. And because it ultimately, you're trying to build a culture, right? And so
That's right.
It'd be the same with your staff and with your business partners. You're not going to align with staff or business partners that don't have that same cultural alignment. And so why would you do it with your residents?
And it's surprising because people always say, aren't you worried about staff? And I was like, no, I'm not worried about my team members, because we're having people ask already. Like, we already have people lined up before opening. I know better, but they're going to be taken care of and they're going to be healed. No one's on call 24 hours. That's ridiculous. We need to make working in senior living a very successful, awesome career opportunity again. And there are so many great people who have burnt out in the industry that want to work a different way. So I don't think we have a staffing shortage. I think we have a people management issue, and running big boxes, loving up on people and taking care of them. It's amazing how far that goes.
Yeah. It's about creating a fulfilling career, not a temporary part-time job that is equivalent to Whataburger, right? Like, you're giving it like this, and goodness, do you think about those big facilities and what you're creating? I don't know who wouldn't want to leave for your home.
Thank you.
Which it's going to be, you're not going to have a problem with staffing. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't think staffing or filling, because we already are getting referrals and I'm like, I just need a house.
Wow. You're already getting resident referrals?
We are.
Okay. And how is that happening?
I think through being known in the industry and then doing something different, right? And so families are like, no, it's exactly where I would want my mom. And one thing, this is interesting, Charlie, we should talk about is we're getting referrals that aren't 85. So I think the vibe actually is hitting this influx of early onset dementia, because you're seeing 100%, 200% increase in early onset between 55 and 65. And those are the referrals we're getting. So I'm excited for that too, because they can't live at home. Their spouse might not be able to take care of them. They want to go on bike rides every day. Bingo. I'm a former rec therapist. We can take you on a bike ride every single day, that some of the big boxes can't. So I think we're going to have even more of a niche with that early onset, because they don't want to live with 85-year-olds. That's a different kind of dementia. And it's also a different kind of education for your staff and overall environment, I think, for the home. So we're actually really excited about the referrals that we are getting.
Wow. I love that. That's going to be very interesting. That is an interesting sub niche of a niche, right? Wait, hold on. Niche, residential assisted living niche, memory care niche, younger memory care. Wow. That's interesting. And you're right. The rates are going up dramatically. And I'm sure you've looked at the data. It's going to get crazy by the 2040s. It's what is happening where everyone's, well, I know what's happening. Everybody's eating processed foods and drinking too much.
And staring at screens, their mental health. We're not connecting anymore. There's tons of reasons, but.
Yeah. Oh, connection. That's a good one. Music, movement. People who move a lot tend to get early onset dementia.
I don't know, drink water.
Yeah. Okay, let me get more water. Okay. Man, this is interesting. We could talk about the vibe all day. Unfortunately, we don't
have us back. We can do different iterations.
Definitely. I want to hear all about the open. I want to hear how that goes. I want to hear about how you just immediately had no issues whatsoever with residents.
That's not going to be true.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to hear the next lessons learned. So certainly we'd love to have you back on as you get further along the process and hear how that goes. But in the meantime, if you were to start over, is there anything you would have done differently or any advice you would give to someone who's looking to do something similar?
Colin, you want to start with this one? I think you have a good perspective on this.
I would say, I would say don't be too scared. I think this is a lot of the times, at least in my experience, this wasn't brand new. This was brand new information to me. So taking out a $3 million loan or $1 million loan or $500,000 loan is a big loan, right? But that's not that big to these banks. And so you've got to think in the mindset of a business owner. So you've also got to think about it, well, I'm giving up a W-2 income for this amount. Yeah, but you're also gaining the operational power that you will have with respect to profits if you're doing it right and paying down the debts. And so I would say just give yourself grace as it relates to the big scary things. That's probably what I would like to have heard the most. I don't know if that's even what you were looking for, but at the end of the day, this is a rocket science. It is big and it is very interesting and it is a very cool area, but just taking it one step at a time to make sure that you're not getting too overwhelmed, and you'll get there.
I love that. It's yes, this is complicated. This is hard. However, like you said, it's not rocket science. Anybody who has a heart for this and some drive is going to be able to do it. People who are
like you said, just keep going.
Yeah. If you're the kind of person that quits at the first challenge, this is not for you. 100%.
Correct. Exactly.
Okay, cool. What did I learn there? Oh, awesome. Let me apply that moving forward. And next time it won't be a challenge, right? There's a stupid example. When I first got into real estate investing 9-10 years ago, I started with apartments, maybe not in the best areas, and bed bugs. That was something that came up. And I was like, oh my goodness, bed bugs. It was like kind of Section 80. And I like freaked out, right? Because that had never happened to me before, and treated it and all that kind of stuff. And then the next time it wasn't that big a deal. I had a procedure, I knew what to do, and called, and we made it happen. And we fixed it. Luckily, haven't had that problem in a long time. Let's keep those fingers crossed. But every obstacle and every challenge just creates a learning opportunity to make you better and to make it not a challenge in the future, which I think is so cool, because we learn and we grow, and then we're able to keep moving forward and keep growing and keep doing big things. Going through this, you're going to be like, okay, cool. That was hard, but you know what? The next one, Vibe 2, is going to be 50% easier, and the next one, Vibe 3, is going to be 50% easier than that.
And I would say one last additional piece of advice is everybody is your audience. So we talk about daughter Judy's a lot. There's every single person that you ever talk to. I'm sure, Charlie, you get this every single time when somebody says, what do you do? And you say, I own an assisted living. They say, oh, my grandmother, oh, my mother, oh, my grandfather, oh, my aunt. They all have a story. So every single person that you talk to needs to hear your side of the story as to why you're doing this, because they could potentially be a referral source or a customer.
Everyone is touched by assisted living, right? Everyone. And usually not in a good way. But what we're doing is good. Yes, 100%, Colin. Share your story. Again, that comes back to the raising money thing's not that hard. All those pieces just you have to tell people what you're doing. It was like when I became a real estate agent and I joined a brokerage. Right. I was like, cool, where's my clients? And it was like, I don't know, get them yourself. Like, you have to tell people I had to tell people I was a licensed agent before I could all of a sudden get clients. And so I think it's so important that you have to tell your story. So I'm glad you guys are here. And I'm sure you're telling your story on social media, and you're doing it in person. All of it works as long as you tell people your story. Yeah. And Colin, just to double tap one thing you said about, there's a huge challenge in front of you, but you eat an elephant one bite at a time. You just have to worry about the mints, the most important next step, right? What's the one little small thing that will advance my goal forward? The rest of this other stuff will keep rolling.
Correct.
And I think people get hung up on the big thing when you just need to break that down into measurable steps and just take that next one.
Yep.
And I think it's knowing your capacity too. Like, we are humans. So if you need to rest, if you need to take time to integrate and get creative, but if you're going to be in a field that's giving care and showing up in such an important way, I hope people are pouring into themselves too, because it's that age-old saying, you can't pour from an empty pot. So we really need to know our capacity as entrepreneurs and owners in this industry, because you're holding that space for a lot of people.
That's a good point, Heather. And you're right. The point we don't want to make is just work harder. That doesn't always
work harder.
Okay? And that can ruin relationships and your family dynamics and partnership dynamics. It's not always about work harder. It is about work smarter and take time for yourself, like you said. if you can't do everything, you can hire, right? Or you can slow down, or you
Yep.
can bring a partner. But you're right. You do need to get that movement, that music, that the right foot. You do have to do all those things
That's
for yourself
right.
too, in order to then be able to do it for other people.
Yeah, if you're not living it and you're not authentic, it's going to show. Like you have to be authentic. And I would say anyone that wants to open this from like just a marketing perspective, know why you're different. Like I just want to know, be able to differentiate yourself and say why this matters to you so much. I think that's what families want to see. And then they'll identify and they'll find the right fit for them.
Love that. Love that. Man, okay. We hit my second to last question. I do want to get your guys' take because it seems very in tune with the industry. What do you see things changing in the next 5 to 10 years? Or how do you see residential assisted living evolving in the next few years?
Yeah, I have a little heartburn on this question because it's the industry to invest, in my opinion, if you want to invest. But what I think's happening is we're seeing investors in Airbnb and multifamily try and get into the senior living space with no senior living experience. And so if they can't find really good operators, which are very hard to find, I think we're going to have a challenge that way. I also think eventually, not in the next 10 or 15 years, but we are going to have a bubble burst where people can't afford what we're charging in senior living currently. And we have that in mind with the Vibe too. It's commanding great rates. Omaha's like a top one in the nation too. And it matters because if you want a smaller environment, you need that budget, right? And you want that value. And I said, money's energy, so we'll pay. But there is a very real capacity limit too when people are aging longer and sicker. And so I think actually what's going to happen is we're going to see long-term care fade out a little bit. And I think we're going to have assisted living plus. And I think the big boxes are going to turn into assisted living that bring in home care companies to provide almost a skilled level to try and save some of those finances. Because independent living right now is assisted living. Assisted living is what long-term care was in 2008. And so there's a shift in the industry. Plus, with AI and technology, that will be interesting to see where we go because traditionally the industry is 10 years behind in technology. There's still so many paper charts and binders and antiquated processes. So I think you're going to see this big separation. I was watching this show called The Gilded Age. And I think this is what's happening in senior living. It's the old money in New York and the new money. And I think there's an old guard in senior living that's really holding on. They're trying from like the 80s that made all the money. And now there's this new generation, the Vibe, Heather and Colin are coming in, and it's causing some tension. But you're going to see who needs what in the industry. And I think there's a new change of guard in the industry.
Yeah, and I would just say as we get into more of the boomer world, the baby boomers, the silver tsunami, they've lived their lives with a lot of choice. They've lived their lives with a lot of options. And they've lived their lives with the ability to make and choose wherever and whatever they want to do. And so I do believe that there is going to be this need for choice. And I'm not causing decision paralysis for all of these things, but I do believe that the standalone old way of doing things is not going to get by with the baby boomers as their needs are presented.
Yes. Man, you guys just added so much value here at the end. I hope people are still listening to this one. But Colin, man, I couldn't agree more. My parents are boomers, and they, in my mind, they're stereotypical who I'm thinking of when I'm like, what are they going to want? You're right. They're going to want options. They're going to want luxury. They're going to want amenities. They're
going to want alternative medicine. It's going to be
different level than what's been provided at mass than 80% of what's out there right now. And they're also the wealthiest generation, right? And so I think that, yes, perhaps at some point a bubble, and definitely there's still a huge affordability problem for a lot of families and a lot of seniors. I do think we're going to have a lot of runway, though, before we see that, because there's just not enough. There's just not enough.
Yeah, we definitely have runway for sure. And one thing we did was in conjunction with the Vibe, we opened a nonprofit called the Sacred Aging Project, where if somebody aligns with our mission and vision and values, because that's number one, we can scholarship them in. So I don't ever want finances to be a barrier to living at the Vibe if this is the lifestyle and like the community you want to be in.
That's interesting. This is becoming a trend too. And I love that. Yeah. I love that. Man, that's so cool. Guys, okay. Heather, Colin, this was awesome. I can't wait to have you back on once everything's built and we could hear all about how that went in the opening. And I expect to get an invite. Let me know when you guys are opening.
Yeah, definitely.
See if we can make that, because we'd love to go see our other friends up there in Omaha as well. But Heather, Colin, thank you so much. If our listeners want to reach out to you, learn more about the Vibe, how can they best do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on all the socials, the Vibe Living, on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIner. So Heather Holmes on LinkedIn, if you want to follow my journey there. Our website is thevibeliving.com. Reach out if you Google anything with our names and the Vibe in Omaha, and love to connect. So if you want to reach out, send an email, DM me, happy to hop on a video call and just chat more. I love supporting other people too. So let me give some of this energy away that I cultivate and uplift other people's dreams too. That makes me more happy than anything.
I love that. You're definitely a go-giver. You got to read that book. All right,
I'm going to listen to it tonight. I'm downloading it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you guys for coming on, and looking forward to having you on next time.
Thanks for the invite, Charlie. This was great.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is the RAL room.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks.
And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey.
Be sure to join us next time on the RAL Room Podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.